It's shiny. It's awesome. It's cool. It's a piece of hardware that I can give for my baby boy.
Porque eu não comi nada antes.
You know, absolutely. Hold on, I'm talking, brother. 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 Hold on, I'm talking, brother.
Hello, and welcome back to Hold On, I'm Talking, Brother. My name is Joe Greenwood, and you are listening to our UFC 272 review, Covington versus Masvidal. And Tom Ballum, how are you today?
I'm good enough to be back, Joe. Yeah.
The COVID didn't get you?
It has not beaten me yet. You know, I'm fighting, I'm wriggling. The referees haven't called it off. You could call me Renato Moicano.
Damn, son. Wow, that tough.
I came out, it's the fifth round, and I'm swinging, Joe.
Well, if you were Renato Moicano, I would have been pulling the plug on you. Let's get... Should we go straight into this, Tom? Or is there anything that you really want to say about this card before we dive into it? Like, I think my expectations for this card before going into it last week, I was a bit cold. A bit whatever about it. I don't know about you, but where did this card meet your expectations?
Yeah, we did. Although we weren't able to record on air for the listeners, we did still share some feelings about the card. You said that you felt it was a bit of a fight night card.
Yes.
Yeah, I still actually I do feel like it played out a little bit like that. Overall, it wasn't like really up there. It's certainly not going to live that long in the memory for me. It was a very good fight night card though, if that's what it was. So.
Yeah, I don't know how anyone in America can justify spending $70 on this.
That is outrageous.
That is outrageous. And I know that Dana White has said that he kind of doesn't agree with that either, but it's not within his control, funny enough. So he can play that sort of card. But anyway, we will get to that maybe another time.
Let's talk about the fights, Joe.
Bro, let's talk about these fights. Let's go straight into it. Let's get to the good shit. Renato Moicano. No, Covington versus Masvidal. Colby Covington wins by unanimous decision. A pick both me and you made. By the way, let's just get this out of the way. Me and you smashed the fucking predictions this week. Jesus Christ. First off, you got every single fight correct. Not every method correct.
No.
But every single fight correct. And my only mishap was Edson Barbossa, not realising how washed he is.
Yeah, that was... We'll get to that. We'll get to that.
But let's talk about Covington versus Masvidal. Colby Covington wins by unanimous decision. Tom, how did you score this fight? What rounds did you give to Covington and what rounds did you give to Masvidal, if any?
I didn't score any 10-8s.
I was iffy on a 10-8. I wasn't too sure on a 10-8.
Okay, I didn't think he landed enough damage in any of the rounds, despite the commentary. For a 10-8. And I did give the second round to Masvidal. So for me, it was a 49-46 for Colby.
Interesting. Very interesting. Okay, I gave it round 1 Covington, round 2 Masvidal, round 3 Covington, and that was my questionable 10-8. I felt that maybe the ground and pound wasn't fresh enough. Round 4 I gave to Masvidal due to the knockdown. I felt like... And then the fact that Covington's takedowns were pretty ineffective in the 4th. And then the 5th round to Covington, which again could have been a potential 10-8. But again, they were soft 10-8s. Do you know what I mean? There's a 10-8, and that's a Yoel Romero, Robert Whittaker 10-8. And then there are these 10-8s where you're a bit like, man, not for me. So yeah, 48-47 for me on the cards. But a convincing 48-47 for me.
Wow.
And I think... I know I think I'm being a bit kind, but
I think Jorge Masvidal's number one fan right here. That is generous to say that he came out of that fight with a 48-47. I wasn't sure about the second.
Really?
Well, I mean, not 100%.
Okay,
certain about it.
let's not talk about Jorge first. Let's talk about Covington. Let's talk about our perception of Colby Covington after this main event. Whoa, what's this face that you're pulling in, Tom? What do you think of Colby Covington?
Well, I like unchanged. I think this was the most expected outcome to me. Yeah, I mean,
yeah, go on.
No, I was going to say. Well, do you want to? Should we break down the fight first, Joe, or you want to talk about where these guys are at?
Let's go round by round first off. So let's talk about round one. Round one actually was kind of a bit controversial in the end, with the eye poke, which led to the takedown. So now, what happened was Covington eye poked Masvidal. Referee didn't stop it, and Covington clinched him against the fence and got the takedown, which then he generated the control with for that round. Masvidal was doing the typical thing of complaining to the referee, of which a lot of fighters would have got the break on that and got the time to pause from the eye poke, but that didn't happen this time. Now,
actually, sorry, Joe, but Jorge, he was saying that he's got a bit of previous with Herb in this regard, in his
really,
in his post-fight press conference, he was saying that he's had problems with Herb here before, and he doesn't really hold much regard for him as a referee. And I wondered, at the time, I was like, it's cold. Like you kind of play to the whistle. It's always drilled into us, right? But in hindsight, it was actually an egregious eye poke. Masvidal actually lost position because of it, and it actually affected the fight. So off the back of that eye poke, Colby, took him down and was able to do, well, not much damage, but, wear him down and blunt Masvidal.
Because I think going into this fight, everyone could probably see that round one would have been Masvidal's best round. That would have been, when his strikes would probably be the most crisp and have them carry the most power. And Covington was able to ride that round out because of that. Yeah. And go on. Does it make the win a little bit dodgy for you now, or does it make it would have gone this way anyway?
It's not significant enough for that for me, and but it does deserve a small mention. Masvidal, in the end, in his post-fight press conference, he gave it more than a couple of mentions.
Really?
Well, not to the point like, I would have won. Like Masvidal, he was very gracious in defeat. He definitely a credit to the sport in that tonight. But it's worth mentioning. I mean, first round definitely sapped Jorge, and he looked flat later in the fight, which we'll get to. Anything else in that first round you'd want to?
And this is something that we'll talk about with the Bryce Mitchell-Barbossa fight, but something that Covington did really well throughout this fight was position in the ground game. That was the thing that he prioritized the most. It was really well done, using the sub attacks, using that sort of fulcrum sort of choke, sort of neck crank thing that Khabib did, to make sure that you're not moving in the direction you want to, that you're defending that, and then he can sweep your hands away and keep you down this way. It was a really solid performance from Covington in this round, and I thought it was a clear win for him in that round.
Clear win for Covington, but at the same time, I mean, Jorge definitely didn't make me feel like, he's got no chance here. It wasn't spoiler Bryce Mitchell versus Edson Barbossa. Masvidal was defending intelligently, and he was able to spring back up, having been taken down off the back of that eye poke, and the fight was still very much live going into round two. Yeah.
Which is the round that I gave to Masvidal, although Masvidal did something insane in this round where Covington was on the ground and he engaged with him on the ground.
Why
did he do that?
I couldn't believe it. I have it in big letters here. Cannot believe that Maz followed him down to the mat after knocking him down.
Yeah, my note is silly of Maz to engage on the ground.
He got away with it though.
He did get away with it, but you don't want to be getting away with something when you're in a dominant position like that. You want to be taking advantage of it, which is something he wasn't able to do in the fourth, which is when he rocked Covington.
Well, anyway, in this round, he outlanded Covington, and he was actually ahead on significant strikes, even though he spent that time on the mat in the first, I think by the end of the second. So one round apiece. It was a good contest at that point.
Yeah, Masvidal's so much better on the feet. I think everyone knew that going into it. Covington was kind of in a bit of a straight line. And also early in the fight, in the first two rounds, Masvidal was using these sort of swiping leg kicks of just taking both legs out that just sort of went away later on in the fight. Maybe because he prioritized other things over the leg kicks, which is maybe a bit disappointing.
Not getting taken down off the back of them, I think.
Yeah, and then later on in the fight, he went for the sort of teep kicks, the sort of like, the front kicks to the knees, which were just never close to landing, really.
I mean, really, that from here, for me, I mean, correct me if there's something you'd like to bring up, but I think the next three rounds can be described just as an absolute masterclass in pressure wrestling from Colby.
He big brothered him.
He big brothered him, and Masvidal absolutely succumbed to it.
Yeah. Now, I don't think we need to break each round down like we did the first two, to be honest. But go on.
Well, no, I mean the conclusion through those three rounds to me was that Masvidal is about to turn 38, and you could see it. He's over the hill, Joe.
He's a little bit over the hill. I don't think he's over the hill. He's not over the hill. He's just
he's not at the peak of the sport. He shouldn't be fighting Colby Covington. I think Masvidal. I think Masvidal, with the skills he has now. But 5 years younger, 5 years better shape, better stamina. Yeah. I think he actually, this is a really close fight.
For sure. You say this about Masvidal, so then I want to bring this back on to Covington. Is there anything about Colby Covington's recent run in the UFC that makes you think that he's actually an elite fighter? Because now when I look at it, I'm not convinced. I was not convinced by this fight. I wasn't convinced of him as a fighter. And here is my main issue, is that when cardio is one of your main two weapons, I don't find you that interesting of a fighter. Like, literally the fact that you're just going to be there in the fifth round is not that interesting for me. Colby Covington, here are his wins in the UFC since 2017. Had a win over Dun Kyung Kim, Damian Maia, Rafael Dos Anjos, Robbie Lawler, Tyron Woodley, Jorge Masvidal. How many of those fighters would you say was, quote, not slightly over the hill or washed?
Well, go on. RDA?
No. RDA. One.
Yeah.
One. Yeah. Colby Covington, for me, has still not beaten a top 10 fighter. And I know Masvidal's ranked 6th, but Masvidal is... All right, as we said, after watching this fight now, if you saw Vincente Lucay versus Jorge Masvidal, who wins that fight?
Lucay.
Lucay all day long. I'm just a little bit... I think Covington, as a fighter, is only interesting when he faces Kamaru Usman currently. And if Colby Covington was fighting in my back garden, I'd close the curtains.
All right,
I'm not that interested as a fighter.
I got to stop you. We're not on the same page, though. We're not on the same page. I feel like you're provoking me here. No, Colby is, to me, yes, he's absolutely at the elite of the sport. That's was my fight, my preview, kind of going into the second Usman fight. Well, I think we had the same conversation where it's like, well, who's Colby actually beat? In hindsight, these wins don't look so good. I think it's the same for Leon Edwards, for example, where it's like, somehow they've not really been matched up with the elite of the division, and they've been beating people who are actually, in hindsight, on the other side.
Which is the frustration of welterweight, is that at the very top you got a great fighter, and then you got a bunch of guys underneath who won't fight each other, and then you've got some cool, fun prospects who can't get matched up with the top guys because they're not wanting to face anyone. So, for example, Vincente Lucay is facing Bilal Muhammad next.
Yeah. Which
is a fight that's already happened, if I remember correctly. They've already faced each other, I believe.
Right.
Is that right? I think that's correct. If you wouldn't mind just researching that for me. You've got Savkat Rakhmonov. You've got Hamzat Chimaev. You've got these exciting guys on the come-up who are definite contenders. And then you've got these other guys at the top that are just sitting there waiting to get their title shot based off of beating Donald Cerrone. Based off of beating Tyron Woodley.
Well,
Robbie Lawler.
Gilbert Burns is signed to fight Hamzat. So I think we are, now I think we're hopefully through this era of Masvidal and Usman. And, like I said, like at the time, perhaps some of these fights made sense, but like it's one of those where you step back and you say, well, we've lost a few good years really in the division where it's been, a bit...
For sure.
Stagnant. But what Colby said in the post-fight was he wasn't happy with his performance. He said that actually the emotions did get the best of him.
Wow,
that was his feeling.
Was there any hint of them squashing the beef?
No hint from either side. No,
wow,
none at all.
I like that.
But Colby came out. He was quite combative, as you might expect. He was kind of he wasn't refusing to answer questions from certain journalists out there who had written pieces on him.
He's so sensitive, isn't he?
He's a strange individual.
Almost like he's almost Trumpian in a way. Oh, well.
He wants Poirier next. What do you think?
Terrible. Don't want it. Don't care. He's calling out a lightweight. Like, what the fuck is that? Like, you should be calling it. You should be saying, like, I want Usman or I want the winner of Burns Chimaev. If you're saying that, then I respect you.
I don't want to hear him talking about Usman's name. I don't. He's got, like you're saying yourself, he's got to win some fights. He's got to win. He's got to beat some of these top contenders out there.
Yeah, but even if he's calling out Usman, he's calling out a guy in his division who is the champ. Like, it's a goal that he's achieving to where it's just like, okay, let's say he doesn't get Usman and he gets Michael Chiesa or Brady or whoever and he beats them. And then he faces Gilbert Burns. And then he faces, Leon Edwards. And then it's like, I want Usman, assuming Usman's still the champ. Yeah. Then I'd be like, oh, fuck yeah. Like, he needs to be Robert Whittaker. Robert Whittaker's saying, I want Vettori. He's saying, I'll face Vettori in June. Mm-hmm. And it's like, that is
to start a guy who's just like, well, come on, you can't. He's never going to hold a candle to Senor Bobby Knuckles.
I love Robert Whittaker so much. I just love that dude so much.
Colby Covington is not that man. Who's next for him then? Is it going to be? If it's not going to be Poirier, you are looking at the likes of Sean Brady or you mentioned think Bilal and Lucay. You mentioned that fight happening. Perhaps the winner of them.
I would like to see Lucay Covington quite a bit. I would like the winner, or maybe even the loser of Burns Chimaev as well. And I don't know, man. I think Covington, he's a good fighter. He's very limited with his tools. This was something that I picked up on this fight though that I thought was quite impressive from him. I don't want this to be totally shitting on Covington from my angle. I want to give him a little bit of praise. He's got very limited tools, particularly striking wise. And I do question then why some people are fans of him. Is purely the politics, I presume. But he did some really good, interesting game planning thing. When they were in open space in the middle of the cage, he used this left high kick to start pushing Masvidal back. Then he'd either blitz and throw another left or throw a left high kick to push him against the fence, and then he'd blitz into a takedown. He knew when he was in a certain space, throw the left high kick, it's going to start and get him moving back, and then I can move forward to start towards the takedown on the fence. And that was really... I've got to give him a bit of praise for that, for sure.
I mean, Joe, I didn't think Colby's striking was bad at all here in this fight. In the fourth round...
Fuck
in the
off.
Joe, in the fourth round, it didn't actually end up going to the mat. They were trading. Colby did get dropped by Masvidal, but overall, I still gave him that round. he outstruck Masvidal with the threat of his pressure wrestling.
Was that the round where? Was that the round where Masvidal literally just let him punch him in the head for a couple of it? I mean, he was 0 for 4 on his takedowns in that round. Mm-hmm. I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm just not particularly excited to watch him fight again unless it's against an actual contender. I don't want to see him versus Dustin Poirier. And also, the post-fight call out, talking about his kids, I really hate it, man. Like, I hate that sort of thing. Like, I don't want to be like the honourable man of like, oh, I'm above that sort of thing and whatever. But, some people say some shit and they don't really mean it and they can take it back. And I've been guilty of that in my life. Of course I have. But I really hate that gimmick from Covington, personally. And I just find it turns me off. I don't want to watch it.
You're not going to find any rebuttal on that here. But I like the guy. The guy can fight. The guy is at the top of the division. He should be fighting. It wasn't anytime soon, but there's a lot of great matchups for him, and I'll be intrigued to see. I would like to see, perhaps the winner of Bilal and Lucay. I can think of lots of good matchup for Lucay. I would like to see Lucay versus Masvidal, actually, for the matter of things. I thought Jorge is really deserving of that if Lucay beats Bilal. If Lucay loses to Bilal, he fights Masvidal. If he beats Bilal, he fights Colby. How about that?
I think Masvidal he's at the point now. He's signed this big contract with the UFC. They obviously don't want him to go away with the whatever remaining star power he has to go then box or go to wherever. They want him to ride out the rest of his career in the UFC. This guy's got 3 fights left, I think, in his career. You know, he's going to be 38 this year. If he fought McGregor later this year, yeah, I'd watch it. If he fought Nate Diaz again, yeah, I'd watch it. I think that's what we're looking at for Jorge Masvidal. Meme fights.
Sure. I guess when I was thinking about potential matchups for him, I was looking at other strikers really.
Yeah, I'm looking at easy pay-per-view fights for him.
Jeff Neal,
co-main. Jeff Neal, he ain't getting that Masvidal fight at all. That's never happening. No. Never happening. So
let's move on, Joe. You're depressing me. Let's go.
Let's move on. Co-main event. Rafael dos Anjos beating Renato Moicano. What round should this have been stopped in?
As predicted here on Hold On, I'm Talking Brother. Decision. Should not have been stopped.
How was that a decision? How was that decision?
So
that is criminal.
My take here, for the listeners who don't know, it was a pretty one-sided beatdown in which Moicano got to show his heart.
Go out on your shield, brother. All that sort of thing. This is terrible circumstances for Moicano, by the way. He's fighting, first off, RDA, who is a brilliant fighter, on 4 days' notice after a 15-hour flight, I think it was.
Over 5 rounds
terrible
as well.
5 rounds, terrible setup for him. This should have been stopped in the third.
In the third, okay. So I actually found that commentary a little bit premature.
Really?
Yep, I found that premature. The third was a 10-8. It was a 10-8, and it was concerning.
What?
It was.
Hold on, how is it premature and then also a 10-8?
I think you can lose a 10-8 and still be a live fighter.
Not like that, bro. Like some of those shots at the end where he was like, Dos Anjos was above him, just fucking raining shots, and his head was banging against the canvas. Like, look. I understand what the corners say, where they're like, we know this person, and I don't want to take away his potential to succeed. That's how they look at it. But I have to ask the question here: is what is it going to take for someone to save a fighter? And in this example here, who should have been the grown-up in the room to stop that fight?
I have very clear feelings on this. In the third, just to finish my point there, I don't think it actually caused egregious damage to Moicano at that point, unless I'm mistaken. Like where he opened him up, that was in the fourth. It was
the high kick which rocked him and wobbled him, and his feet had gone, and then RDA was laying on the ground and pound with elbows, and then shot standing above him.
But did he open him up there? Was he leaking? I don't think the bleeding. I think that.
Yeah, he opened him up in that round.
Maybe I'm misremembering it then. The fourth, for me, that was clear. That was
end the fight.
My point was, but I think they handled it perfectly well between the ref and the medic, and I agreed with the praise that they received. To me, it's the job of the corner to retire their fighter. Yeah, absolutely. There was not a moment in the fight for me where the ref could stop it.
I say at the end of the third, potentially, where Goddard could have stopped the fight then and been like, you know what, actually, you've had enough.
You're talking about during the round or after the round, just being like, look, mate.
After the round.
I know you want to be a fighter, but.
No, after the round, being like, listen, mate, he got up and he was wobbling and he could barely walk. Call the fight off. Be the grown up in the room and end the fight.
I'm not with you, Joe. I'm not with you.
Wow. Like we are really against each other today.
Yeah, it does seem to be the case. I mean, yeah.
The corner should end the fight. There's no doubt about it. After that third round, this bloke took 10 minutes more damage. And at the end of this guy's career...
He won the fifth round. Hold on.
He did not win the fifth round.
I gave him the fifth round. I gave him the fifth round, Joe.
You just love Big Money Moicano. That's all it is. Like, listen, Moicano has joined the Hold On I'm Talking Brother boys list along with Joaquin Buckley, Joaquin Buckley, Derek Lewis. Who
Yes.
else is on our boy list?
There's-
Guys who are great,
there
who will
many.
never be champion. Who else do we love? Fucking whoever. But anyway, Calvin Kattar. We love Calvin Kattar on this pod. Listen, I'm sorry, man, but like, the corner should have stopped the fight. Mark Goddard should have stopped the fight. The doctor should have stopped the fucking fight at the end of the fourth.
No, but he could see. He could see. Like, he
Oh,
did his job.
bro.
Like, come on, what's going on here, Joe? This is not like
His eye...
His eye, he was in a bad way, 100%. The doctor should be called in to take a look. He came in, he took a look, he did the exam, and he could see. Like, the doctor was feeling awkward. He was whispering, like, look, I know we want to stop this fight, but he can see, he's okay to continue.
Goddard,
continued.
The best thing Goddard did, by the way, was at the beginning of the fifth where he said, I'm giving you 30 seconds, you better sort this out.
Yeah,
you've got to show me something.
And then he went and won the round, Joe.
He didn't win the round, bro.
Moicano needs big checks, big money. Wow.
I just worry that corner, if they really cared about this guy and they know that they want him to succeed and whatnot, they should. There are fighters who have lived to the end of their careers, that have gotten to their late 30s, into their 40s, who have taken damage, who the money hasn't been there, and they're still taking these fights. They shouldn't be, because they took, and the reason why they can't compete is because they took damage.
No, we're united here. We're united. We did have some translations for the advice he was getting, advice between rounds, and it was basically like, trampling on his manhood and calling him a bitch and telling him he needs to start winning. That was it.
I will always remember when was it Nate Quarry versus Kelvin Gastelum, where at the end of the second round, Quarry was slumped on his stool, and Trevor Whitman said to him, "Can you go? Like, I need to know, like, what you can do." And Quarry was just like heavy breathing. He was just like, and he had a real moment of opening up, and he was just like, "No." And Whitman turns to he's like, "It's over." I'm thinking about Anthony Pettis when he broke his hand against Tony Ferguson, and Duke Rufus, who was a great kickboxing champion, broke his hand in a fight and kept going in his career, and he knew what Pettis was in, and he took him out of the fight. A lot of these guys have been professional fighters, not to the level of Moicano in terms of fame or whatever, success, the standing that he's been in, and they should look at this guy and think, it ain't worth it, bro. You're not going to be able to fight for another year now because of this, and 100%. your potential earning has gone down.
Look, hold on, I'm talking, brother. It's unanimous. Coaching team, you've let your fighter down there. You need to have a look at yourselves. Apologise to him. Definitely retract any purse you're looking for from this fight, because you've not protected him. Mark Goddard, you've done the job as far as I'm concerned, and
he could have ended that in the third. I was watching that and I was saying, stop the fight.
That's what everybody was saying, Joe. But my question mark here.
You just wanted the 2 points, didn't you? You fucking sicko. That's all you want. You're a vile bastard.
Next fight, Joe.
No denial. Lovely. Bryce Mitchell. Oh my word. Was I wrong about this fight? I tell you what. One of these fights where I'm actually happy to be wrong. Bryce Mitchell dominates Edson Barbossa.
Because you hate Edson, or what's? You call me vile? You're happy about that?
No. Not at all. Bryce Mitchell dominates Edson Barbossa. All 3 rounds won. Any 10-8s there for you? I would say no. Oh, really? Which one?
Yes, both of them. Both the both
third and the second and third.
Second and third. It was a third. It was a 30-25. Jesus, terrible.
Oh, actually, sorry. The second, I think I gave a 10-8. Sorry, my mistake.
The second was close to a 10-7. And the third was a 10-8. Yeah, it was a total beatdown.
Let's can I just break this down for you? A 15-minute fight. In a 15-minute fight, Bryce Mitchell had 11 minutes and 28 seconds of control. He smothered Barbossa. And you know what? He really impressed me in a couple things. First off, we'll talk about the wrestling. Controlled Barbossa, didn't let him get anywhere. Barbossa couldn't do anything. It wasn't a jiu-jitsu guy. It was just a straight wrestling. Head next to his head, controlling his position. Couldn't get himself into position to fire off, to get off. And when he did, couldn't really do much. And then the thing in the first round that really impressed me was the knockdown. Bryce Mitchell timed his right hand. Watch it back. he timed his right hand so that Barbossa was mid-step. So when he landed, Barbossa was actually on 1 foot. That's why he went down. Mitchell had managed to time it so that when he landed, Barbossa was on 1 foot and then he wouldn't have the balance to sort of take the shot. Really, really impressive from Bryce Mitchell. Give him a top featherweight fight contender for me. That's what I want to see.
Yeah, you'll hear no challenge from me on that. I guess, I mean, we've seen this before for Barbossa. Maybe you haven't given your prediction before the fight.
I didn't think Mitchell was that good of a wrestler. That's the thing that surprised me.
It's more like, how bad is Barbossa at dealing with these guys? Did he look like... Now, look, we've seen a wrestler outclassing somebody in the main event. We've talked about Covington versus Masvidal. Masvidal was creating openings on the mat. He was an active bottom, if you will. He was... and yeah, he was creating spaces, he's creating scrambles. Colby was then winning most of those scrambles and getting the position back again. But Barbossa was doing none of that, Joe. He was sat there in guard, legs in the air, getting wailed on for 11 minutes. It was terrible. It was really... It was a real... And I've seen it too many times, Joe. It was...
Like... I didn't think it would... I thought that... my logic was that he's come down from lightweight down to featherweight, and the guys that have really ragdolled him have been Kevin Lee and Khabib Nurmagomedov. And my logic was, well, Bryce Mitchell's no Khabib Nurmagomedov, and he's still not a Khabib Nurmagomedov.
But he is a Kevin Lee. Is that what you're saying?
Well, I don't want to insult the man, but yeah, I was just super impressed. And it was the same thing with the Covington performance, which was use the submissions to attack, to then control position. Position was the most important thing with his grappling. That was so impressive, and it's really advanced sort of like thinking. Like a lot of fighters, they just go for the submission, they attack it, and they sort of... You see it so many times when the person takes the back, has the choke in, person gets on all fours, has their feet and hands down, and the person slips off the top. You see it so many times. Bryce Mitchell was never, ever going to have that happen to him. He had such control over Barbossa in this fight. It was phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal grappling from Bryce Mitchell. And I want to know what his ceiling is. I want to know how high he can go in this division. He is supreme on the mat. Yeah. I still want to see his striking develop a bit. Even with the knockdown, it still needs a bit of work. I mean, let's go through some of the stats here for Bryce Mitchell. I mean, significant strikes. Out of 209 attempted strikes, he landed 182, of which 34 was significant. It's not that high, to be honest. It needs some work. But yeah, I'd be interested to see him against a top sort of fighter in the featherweight division.
Should that fighter be a non-Christian, Joe?
Are you talking about the prayer that they had after the fight?
Joe, wow. I mean, then we might really get to see his nasty side, because he went a bit televangelist preacher post fight.
It was weird, wasn't it?
Soldier of God, weird intensity to him. I think you match him up with one of the Dagestani bros, and we see
what featherweight.
There must be one, Joe. They're coming.
Oh my god! That's, I don't know if I want to see that.
Movsar Evloev.
Oh, that's a good shout. That is a really good shout.
Yeah.
I was thinking Calvin Cater.
That's is that interesting stylistic. Yeah, well, no, I don't know. The thing is, I'm not catching the same hype you are for Bryce, because it was just so woeful from Edson, and I've seen it before. I found it hard to watch. Talking about fights that should be stopped. I mean, if you're gonna stop that other fight that we just discussed, then which I've moved on from now, then I think you've got to be looking at stopping this one. So yeah, I'm maybe not aiming so high for Bryce off the back of that, because Edson was he's just not got it. He's just not there.
Fair enough.
So
Josh Emmett,
it would be fun. there's a lot of matchups for him, right? I mean, he's still young in the division. You got Dan Ige, you got, I don't know, Chikadze.
How about this?
Burgos.
Brian Ortega.
Oh, that is something I would leave out there a little bit. They're both young guys, both specialists. I would leave that one out there.
By the way, speaking of taking too much damage, I think if Brian Ortega takes one more ass kicking like the Volkanovski or Holloway fights, I think he probably should retire. Like that was another thing I was thinking of when I was watching that Moicano fight. Was there were some guys that are a little bit on the edge for me with those sorts of beatings, and Ortega is kind of one of them that creeps into the back of my mind. Kevin Holland versus Cowboy Oliveira. Should we talk about this? Oliveira looked quite solid to start off with. Was technical. Was within himself. Not the Cowboy Oliveira I was expecting. Kevin Holland wasn't quite his Kevin Holland self. Oliveira was landing the cleaner shots. Harder as well. It was, very just sort of lean first round. And then the second round, Kevin Holland comes out, feints this sort of double jab with the left hand. Moves Oliveira to duck away into an oncoming right hook, which knocks him down, and then Holland finishes with some lovely ground and pound, a nice elbow.
Just swarmed him. It was kind of a little bit like, all right, enough of this nonsense. This is, and I feel like, Cowboy, if you put enough punishment on him in a short period of time, he's going to buckle. He's been poor man's body is totally broken, totally wrecked, and he just can't stand up to that kind of punishment. So Holland got the win. Don't know how impressive it was, but I'm happy to see him. Win.
Good start to the division for him. And it's a nice change for that division. Again, another fresh name in there with some nice fresh matchups. A guy who, by the way, who's willing to, put in a number of fights in a short space of time, who's going to be there competing as much as possible. This is good for the division.
That's great. Yeah, I think Kevin Holland is. He's close to being a boy in the pod.
We love a bit of Kevin Holland, yeah.
Without standing by what he may or may not say at some point. So
I don't care about that. I'm all about the in-cage.
All right, Dana. All right.
Yes.
So, I mean, did he carry the same threat he did at middleweight? Was he the same fighter from what we saw?
I don't know. It's been a little while since we've seen him.
I mean, the guy had.
So I don't want to judge too much.
Genuine knockout power at middleweight.
Yeah. So
I think his shots looked a little lighter.
I think also the fact that at welterweight they're a little bit quicker, so maybe they'll be able to move out the way. Maybe it's just a case of finding your timing and rhythm against certain fighters. There was a fight that immediately jumped out to me for him at welterweight. I don't know if it jumped out to you, but Jeff Neal for me would be a good fight with Holland. It's a rematch. They faced each other on the regional scenes. Holland beat him there. To me, that makes a lot of sense.
Pons.
That was a guttural sound.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That is good stuff right there.
This is the thing with Kevin Holland, that we can find some great matchups for him down there in that division. So
yeah, he called out.
Nice.
He called out Cowboy Cerrone, and then he took it back and called out Daniel Rodriguez.
Oh yeah,
which I think it's a bit more appropriate. I think, but I think Ponzinibbio or Jeff Neal for me.
Yeah. Or I mean, I'd take D-Rod as well. Plenty of time for Kevin.
Yes, indeed.
I mean, if you're going to fight like 5 times, so we can line them all up there. This year, we're talking about then, Joe. Ponzinibbio, Neal, maybe we'll chuck Cowboy in as well. And you still got another couple of fights. That's how active this man is. So
yeah, for sure. Right, and then let's talk about the main card opener. Spiv it to me, baby. Pull out and spiv all over my face. Sergey Spivak gets the win over Greg Hardy, the Spiv, a boy, Joe. Potentially. This is, bro, he ragdolled a man who was 60 pounds heavier than him. Sometimes the other hammer.
That much? 60. Wow.
Jeez, bro, he was 20 pounds heavier officially on the weigh-ins, and Hardy cut about 30 odd pounds. So we're looking at maybe 50 to 60 pounds heavier. And do you know how he dominated, Tom? With a fucking underhook. Dominic Cruz gets so much shit for bringing up underhooks, but let me tell you, bro, those underhooks mean everything to a guy like Spivak, and he exposed Hardy bad.
Sometimes you're a hammer, sometimes
the nail.
Yeah.
And sometimes you're Greg Hardy.
Yeah, hopefully as few times as possible.
Yes.
It was embarrassing. It was it was a bad joke. Come on, that was really embarrassing. If you're Greg Hardy, you're cringing tonight.
Yeah, he's not very good on the ground, is he?
He is Taito Ivasa, but worse, Joe. And Taito Ivasa, the Taito Ivasa that I wanted cut, I wanted chucked out of the UFC when he lost to Spivak. I think we're at the same stage now for Greg Hardy. Get him out.
I think Greg Hardy, the UFC's just not for him. It's pretty clear where he should go, which is bare knuckle. He's got some pretty quick hands. He's a bit of an athlete, in the NFL. Of course he was an athlete. But, he's more of a name for that, I think. I don't want to see him stinking up main cards anymore. And when Spivak just revealed the levels of difference between him on the ground to Hardy, and it was like, Hardy was like, he didn't even have like rudimentary ground game to stop Spivak, to even like stall him. I mean, like he just tried to get up, and then Spivak was just like throwing him around. Like, I think I had it here. Holy shit! Like throwing an elephant is what exactly my exact phrase.
Yeah, I mean, he hip tossed him, and then he broke the octagon.
Yeah.
The only quite a question I had for you here. The shots that Spivak landed on the ground were a bit gentle for heavyweight.
Yeah.
I don't know what had happened to Hardy. Was he out?
I don't know.
It was a bit weird.
I don't know. It was weird. The referees, not the referee, the doctor's checking on him, and then he sort of like
reanimates,
jumped.
Yeah, just remembers the
like,
irons.
Where am I?
The iron on. Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was a strange moment. I actually thought, to be honest, it might have been an early stoppage until I saw that weird whatever was going on there. Maybe he was out. Maybe I just missed that. But it did.
Yeah, I don't.
None of that for you.
Was weird.
Early stoppage.
No. I would say just about the right time. I thought that was fine to stop it then. Although, I'm not always not necessarily averse to seeing Greg Hardy get an extra couple shots in on him, but yeah, there's something about Hardy as well. I just don't like his energy. He's very cringe. He reminds me of Luke Rockhold. Like, he's just so cringe.
Yeah.
But
he entered the UFC very much like a sullen dog, obviously with his past and knowing the hatred that people have for him. And I wouldn't go as far as saying I felt bad for him at that point, but I wanted to see how he would develop, let's say, once he signed. All right, so we give him a chance, but then like that weight of his past seems to have kind of lifted off him a bit now, and now he feels a bit established and a bit comfortable. You can see he's actually just a bit of a cunt.
Yeah,
it's like
yeah, exactly. Yeah, he's a wanker. Like he's someone that like just really just says horrible things without really like caring about anyone, and just he's definitely a narcissist. I mean, the guy was in the NFL. He was paid a shitload of money. Was pampered for most of his career. Goes into fighting because there's some NFL guys that have gone into fighting. I'm a good athlete. This could work for me. He's just not a fighter. There's some guys that are just fighters, and he's just not one. He's just an athlete who's a bit of a wanker who was told that he was amazing for so many years of his life, and he's developed this slightly bizarre personality that is...
sorry, Joe. Apparently, that was the last fight of his contract.
Good.
Do you think we'll see him again?
Actually, I think we will.
I think we will. Heavyweight is barren.
Yeah, it's a Sahara desert of talent, isn't it?
Joe, if it can launch another Spiv missiles coming in, like this is the thing. You can use Hardy to build up other guys.
Yeah, exactly.
I wasn't invested in the Spiv before. Now I'm on the train.
The Spiv, man. Spiv deep inside of me. I can't wait to see the next Spiv fight. Like, this is... Who do you want next for the Spiv?
I was trying to think of an appropriate fighter. Is there
How many times can he fight Marcin Tybura?
I had to cross out Tybura. I don't know if you could see. I thought
Dorcas?
Maybe Dorcas. Yeah.
Yeah, Dorcas.
But Dorcas has gone and signed himself to fight Curtis Blaze, Joe.
Oh my god! I've just seen this. Oh my days, Chris, what you doing, brother?
Yeah. That's
fair play.
That's a misstep. You're getting smoked there.
Yeah, I don't know. Not a good look. Not a good look. Yeah, he's past the Arlovsky sort of hurdle, isn't he? And it's he's.
So if we are going to follow the trajectory of Tuivasa and play it out the same for the Spiff, then you're looking at some Jabron, Parker Porter, one of those.
Walt Harris.
Yeah, someone.
By
like
the way,
that.
actually, can you legitimately cut Greg Hardy if Walt Harris is still in the UFC? 7-8 in the UFC for Walt Harris, 13-10 overall. That is a fucking disgusting record. I'm trying to see if there's any. There's Alexander Romanov, 4-0 in the UFC. Maybe he's a up and comer potentially. I don't know. Anyway, who cares? This fight should not have been on the main card, by the way. Can we confirm that?
No, I know you had a few fights that you liked down there in the prelims. You want to tell us about them a little bit?
I do indeed. Can I give you my fight of the night?
Do it.
Marina Rodriguez versus Yan Zhao Nan. This was a ripper. Really good, like, sparky women's strawweight fight. Number one contenders fight for me. Rodriguez comes out with the win. It was a close fight. I had it Rodriguez 2-1. First round, Zhao Nan showed a lot of changes from her Carla Esparza fight. As Zhao Nan is a potential title contender for the future. This could have easily gone her way. But I had it for Rodriguez. I think Rodriguez adapted really well. And these two, at times, sat in a pocket and brawled with each other. And it was fucking sick. This is the sort of fight you put on the main card. You open this with Holland versus Oliveira, and then you put these two on. They have their... And the pace was ridiculous for this fight as well. High pace the whole time. Pressuring each other. Zhao Nan did... It turned into a classic Matador bull thing of, like, Zhao Nan being the Matador and Rodriguez being the bull. And at times Rodriguez was missing and Zhao Nan was moving out of the way and landing her counters. But eventually Rodriguez got the timing, and in the third round really sort of put it on her and was unloading combinations, sometimes a 4 or 5 shot combination. I think Rodriguez has got real title potential, and I think would be a much more interesting matchup for Rose than Carla Esparza. But Carla Esparza deserves the title shot.
Well, I think Dana said this was for the number one contender. I think he did.
Did he?
He did in the post-fight press conference, yeah.
Well, you know what? Rodriguez would be a great shout for the title shot, and I think could cause Rose a lot of problems. She's on a 4-fight win streak now, having been slightly a bit of a dark horse in the division. No one really sort of took her too seriously until she knocked out Hebas. But she's had good wins now, of dominant wins over Waterson. Who's the other woman that she beat as well? I can't remember off the top of my head. But now also Zhao Nan. Zhao Nan's kind of Mackenzie Dern. She also dominated. Zhao Nan is the best win though, for sure. And I think Rodriguez for a title shot.
Yep, sounds like we'll be seeing more of her.
Jalen Turner versus Jamie Malarkey. Rest in peace, brother. Whoo boy. Did you see any of this fight? You saw the finish of this?
I saw the finish, that's right, Joe.
Bro, Jalen Turner is smooth. He has got some slick striking. Jamie Malarkey, by the way, no scrub. I mean, he's had some losses in the UFC, but he won recently. He had a nice... I think he knocked out his last opponent, who was... Oh, God, what was the guy's name? I forgot the name of it. But he fought not that long ago and won.
Devontae Smith.
That was it.
And he knocked out Karma Worthy before that.
And Karma Worthy, that was the other one I was thinking of. So, again, impressive win for Jalen Turner. I think this guy's got some potential. I don't want to rush him up the lightweight rankings, but there are some guys he could potentially face along the lines that I'd be quite interested in seeing. Maybe a... Go on.
Well, no, I was just going to say that's 4 in a row for him now. Came into the UFC and lost to... got matched up with Vincente Lucay on his debut. That's
Not a good start. That's a rough one.
Went down to lightweight after that.
I think he was a short notice one for that Lucay fight, wasn't he? It was just like, we need a sacrificial lamb. So in you go, son, so Lucay can get a highlight. Impressive performance. What was the other standouts from here? Oh, Marina Morose of the Ukraine defeating Maria Agapova, the grudge match, which was quite interesting because went into round 2 and Morose was just dominating Agapova on the ground, and then they cut to Dean Thomas giving his commentary and insight, who used to work at American Top Team with these two ladies, and he said, yeah, this is exactly what practice looked like as well. So it looks like Agapova needs to change a lot of things really, but Morose, good performance, moves on in the flyweight division, but the biggest name or clear name would maybe Umar Nurmagomedov defeating Brian Kelleher with a rear naked choke. Odd moment where Kelleher was backing up Nurmagomedov and went for a takedown. Like, what are you doing? The bloke's name is Nurmagomedov. You do not take this guy down. Nurmagomedov demonstrating some of his kicking range, but not much. His hands clearly need a lot of work, but on the ground, like every Nurmagomedov, is a incredible grappler and moves on. I think this fight was fought at featherweight, but they're both bantamweights. Nurmagomedov can fight some unknown bantamweight, build up his reputation for a bit before moving on to some ranked opponents, in my opinion. Maybe Raulian Paiva might be a good one for him. That could be a good fight for Nurmagomedov. That's it, I think, in terms of UFC 272. Overall, pretty good card, with some interesting tidbits. Anything else that you wanted to mention just quickly before we move on?
No, not really, Joe. Just maybe a brief shout out to Ludovic Klein, who
oh yes,
Devontae Smith. That was just took the fight on short notice. Coming off 2 losses himself now, having made his debut in 2020. Klein. Sorry.
Yeah. Was there any big standouts from this fight for you?
He's got a very nice jab. Has Klein. A lot of nice forward pressure as well. 18-4 now. He's very new and fresh in the UFC, and I think we might see a little bit more of him. I'm not going to say any more than that.
Okay, we're not looking. It's not like when you see Arman Saruki and you're like, Jesus Christ, this guy is incredible. We're looking at a solid fighter who could maybe put on some good performances. And
a young guy, a Slovak. Just 27, and with a pretty good record now, so nice to see him get that win under his belt. And as I say, this is a man who took the fight, I think, about a week's notice, had to fly from Europe, so a bit of a risk for him. It would have been a third loss in a row in the UFC, so I hope he gets a bit of a break now in his next fight.
Good for him. And then also the first fight of the night you watched as well. Can you tell us anything about that? Anything stand out? No. We're not even going to say the fight. That's how bad it was.
I mean, Dustin Jacoby overcame Michał Oleksiejczuk. Jacoby actually, I think, is carrying a couple of injuries. Known as a bit of a kickboxer, really, Jacoby, but not able to get off any of his kicking game. Did say post-fight that he was carrying injuries going in. Managed to get the win, so good for him. That does actually put him on a bit of a streak now, Dustin Jacoby. Quietly,
really?
Yeah, he's quietly been amassing a few wins. I think that is, let me see, Joe. That's 6 in a row.
6?
6 in a row. Yes.
At 205.
At 205, yeah, including Darren Stewart, who he TKO'd. He had a split decision draw with Jon Kutalaba. Beat John Allen.
I remember that. I remember that fight. Yeah. Every Ion Kutalaba fight is something to tune in for. Okay, fair enough.
But this was not.
Yeah, he's on a good run.
Good run. Not a huge performance from here. Great for him that he's able to do the job despite carrying those injuries, and I expect we'll see him matched up with a ranked opponent next.
Are we getting the whiff of Nikita Krylov? Are we getting that? So can you get over that hurdle of Krylov?
That's where we're looking, Joe. Yeah.
Excellent. Right. Should we talk about the news briefly? I mean, if there's anything particular that you want to bring up. Can I just run through some news items throw at you?
Please.
Nate Diaz about to sign a new contract, apparently. On a scale of 1 to 10, how interested are we?
I'm going to go...
3?
Yeah... Trilogy with Connor, maybe 3. Oh, but then I can't really take it either. I can't really take all of that faux hype about it.
Yeah.
No, I'm revising it, Joe. I'm going down to 1. I've actually turned me off more. Yeah.
The thought of watching Connor.
Another stupid fight for Connor. Nah, 1. It's a bad thing.
Burns versus Chimaev announced as a potential number 1 contender
Joe,
fight.
That's a 10.
Oh, bro.
That is a great fight. Great matchmaking. Fight. Credit to Burns.
I love. Credit to Burns, by the way, for taking that fight, because Chimaev is ranked 11, and a lot of guys in that welterweight division will not face this guy. Burns sees the opportunity. I can take this guy's hype, and Burns on the ground, jiu-jitsu world champion in the gi. That is how good he is. Yeah. Burns is not to be messed with. But if Chimaev smokes him, whoo boy. Fire up that train, brother.
I mean, if Chimaev beats Burns, it's a title shot, isn't it?
I think if he beats him comprehensively.
Okay.
My question would be... If it's a decision, I would say the Covington match.
Okay.
Because
no argument.
Usman's already announced, in his mind, what his year will be like. Did you see this?
No. Tell me. Very interested.
Leon Edwards...
Wow.
In June.
That's that's not confirmed. That's just what he.
That's not
expects.
confirmed. But he's saying I'm looking at Leon Edwards for International Fight Week, which is June or July, and then he said, in September, Mexican Independence Day, I will face Canelo Alvarez, which is
okay.
Yeah, so. A man who literally learnt the jab last year is going to face Canelo Alvarez in boxing. Whatever you say, brother, whatever you say. Khabib Nurmagomedov entered into the Hall of Fame. We briefly spoke about this before we started recording, but very rare for a modern fighter to be inducted in the Hall of Fame. But this is one of the few justifiable cases, I think. Undefeated, the lightweight GOAT. Pretty set in stone, isn't it? That he's one of the all-time greats and that he needs to be recognised as such.
Nothing to say, nothing to add. Congratulations, Khabib.
Should we do the preview of the next fight night?
We'll have a quick look ahead, yeah. Is it next Saturday, Joe?
Next Saturday. I'm going to run through this card very quickly at you. I'm going to go from what is bout number 9 up to bout 14. Okay, so this should be the main card, these 6 fights. Okay, middleweight. Bruno Silva faces Alex Pereira, the guy who knocked out Adesanya, of course, in kickboxing. We've got that. Give me a name. Pick a name.
To win that fight?
To win that fight.
I'll go with Pereira. He had definitely some holes in his game on his debut, but hopefully he's patched them up frantically. I
remember Jack Slack talking about that fight where he was watching it and he was like, I wonder if Pereira's the sort of fighter that just throws a switch knee out of nowhere and just wins the fight. And then he did exactly that and knocked out whoever that jabroni was and won the fight. It's like, oh yeah, he is. Drew Dober facing Terence Mckinney. Terence McKinney stepping in on 7 days' notice for this fight. What are we feeling? What are we feeling on our loins for this? Dober for me as well. Khalil Roundtree versus Carl Roberson. Roundtree?
I'd kind of like to see Roberson win just because of that vicious teep that he broke the Lithuanian fella's leg with. You.
That was Roundtree who did that.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. I'd like Roberson to win because I did not.
Right.
That. I didn't enjoy that. Joe. That was that poor. He got cut after that as well.
Did he?
He's cut and in a wheelchair.
Poor bloke. Alex Caceres versus Sadiq Youssef. Always nice to see Sadiq. I think we're both going to go with Youssef for that one.
Yes.
Now here we go. Co-main event. You don't know anything about this card, do you?
No.
Co-main event. Magic Marlon Moraes is back against Song Yadong at the bantamweight division.
Wow. Is Moraes still ranked?
I believe so.
And Song?
I believe so. I think Song might be just outside of it.
Mm-hmm. I mean, Moraes is desperately needed something to stop the rot. you're not going to find it in bantamweight. I think Song Yadong is as close as you're going to get. Not that he's a gimmick. That's not what I'm saying.
Oh, no. Wait, hold on. So you're saying you're picking Morose?
I'm saying that Marlon has gone through one of the worst runs I've seen in the history of the sport.
Jesus!
In terms of
Sam Alvey, Levy Bennett, or
no, I'm saying how far he's fallen. Him and Tony Ferguson together have both gone from being wow, what about Marlon? I was picking Marlon for everything, Joe. I thought he was going to be reigning the division. He looked great. I don't know how many undefeated it was, but I think it was double figures, unless I'm mistaken. And then he's lost several fights in a row.
Let me run through. So he had a loss against Cejudo for the title. Then he beat Jose Aldo in a very close split decision. Then he was supposed to face Piotr Jan, but that got cancelled, thankfully for Morose. Then he lost to Sandhagen, Rob Font, and then Merab Dvalishvili. The Dvalishvili one was he smashed him, basically. And that was 6 months ago. I don't know if that's enough time for him to recover, and I feel like Song Yadong might get the win with this one. Main event, Thiago Santos versus Magomed Ankalaev. Oh, boy. Wow. Are we going to get the old Thiago Santos? Are we going to get the guy who's going to go swanging and banging?
I think so. I think Ankalaev will draw that out of him because he's got no choice.
Yeah, he has to come forward. Ankalaev draws this out of everyone. Ankalaev, by the way, future title contender. He is so good.
Goes in
so good.
Goes in for sure as the favourite in this fight. I really hope it's not a case of him picking off a lethargic Thiago Santos.
Yeah, I hope this is some version of Santos that we've seen before,
which we haven't seen since the damage.
Since the Jones fight.
Yeah, since when he blew both his knees. Yeah.
When you think about that, sometimes the fact that he fought that fight with no knees is insane, isn't it?
Totally.
And that one of the judges gave it to him. One of the all-time great losing performances, I think. And he was throwing wild shit in that fight. Great performance. Great fighter to watch when at his best. But that last win over Johnny Walker was lethargic from both of them, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
That's it, really. Is there any other new stuff we wanted to bring up? I don't know. Do we want to talk about Cain Velasquez?
Oh, well, we can if you want, Joe. Yep.
Not particularly. I find it such a horrendous story, but I guess maybe we should now that I've brought it up. Cain Velasquez was arrested last week for what was it? It was a high-speed chase and then attempted murder of a man who has committed sexual assault or child. I don't know what the correct terminology was, but we'll go with, I guess, sexual assault of a minor who was a relative of Cain Velasquez. It came out that this person had abused this child about 100 times.
They've been accused of that, by I think Cain's daughter, if I understand correctly.
No.
Yeah, that's how close to home it is, yeah.
Okay. This somewhat changes my perception of this now that I've heard this. Because, listen, I'm not a parent. I don't know. I cannot relate to those feelings at all. I cannot do it. My first thought was, when I saw this, is that this guy who was going to be convicted by the sounds of it is going to go to prison, and that I don't know how much there is much need for him to do this, but obviously he chose to do it. And then my main thing was that Cain Velasquez is going to go to prison for 20 years, and then how is that going to affect his children? That their father went to prison for 20 years.
Joe, this is America. I think you're thinking this is taking place in the sane world. In America, you can execute people and walk free if public opinion is on your side.
Really?
Did you see that case where somebody had been abducted by their judo coach, a boy, and this was, I think, in the 90s now. Abducted and sexually abused by their judo coach. They had been kind of brought back into state, and the coach had been arrested. And when they were taking him through the airport, he was being filmed as he's coming through the airport. This coach who's just been arrested. Somebody's hunched over by a payphone, turns around, and and shoots him in the head. Shoots him in the head. It was the boy's father. It was caught on live TV camera. You must have seen this.
No, I've never seen this.
Well, I'll send you a link. So executed on camera, dead instantly before he hits the floor. I don't think the guy served any time.
Really?
I really.
I think Cain is going to serve some time though, isn't he, for this? Like, even if it's just for the high speeds.
Not
chase.
If the UFC fighters have got anything to do with it, Joe, because they are pretty much unanimous. I'll give you a couple of quotes here. You try to name the fighter. If you aren't going to free Cain, at least arrest this guy and lock him up in the same jail cell as him. This is from a guy who does some promo work for the UFC. He does a lot of interviews with Felder.
Chiesa?
Yes, that's from Chiesa.
Michael Chiesa!
Including a picture of the guy in question.
By the way, when I saw the mugshot of Cain, like, he just did not look bothered at all. He was just like, that was worth it. But by the way, the person that he shot wasn't the child molester. It was the stepfather of the child molester who has now been shot.
Yeah, I think there were a few people in the car and Cain was firing a bit indiscriminately.
Can I? Yeah, go on.
No, go on, Joe. I was going to read you a few more quotes, but
no. Give me the few more quotes, and then I'll say what wanted to say afterwards.
Cain Velasquez is in trouble for shooting someone who molested his child. I stand with him on that, but I wonder if she should have shot him or beat him close to death. What would be worse in the eyes of the law? That is from the poster boy.
Jimmy Manoa?
Jimmy Manoa chiming in. let me give you one last one.
Go on. Sorry, I shouldn't laugh.
Cain opens fire to a racist. Good choice, champ. That is from our favourite Ecuadorian in the UFC.
Oh, what, Chito Vera?
Joe, I got one more, and I'm
go.
going to give you no clues as to who this is.
Should I get it straight away?
I feel like you will.
Is it Joaquin Buckley?
With a huge cut and a promo at the same time. It's not Joaquin. All right, but I think I think you'll be on this. All right, if this is true, at Cain MMA is a fucking hero. Bottom fucking line. There is nothing I respect more than when I-Man does this. 911 isn't the answer for this. I'll be the first one donating to a GoFundMe for his defense. Pedophiles need to die. They can only be fixed with fire. ...
All right, I'm going to throw this out there. Tony Ferguson.
No, it's someone that you despise.
Someone I despise?
Yes.
Who do I despise in the UFC? I don't know. Is it? Who do I despise?
It's Sean
Colby
Strickland,
Covington?
Joe.
Oh, Sean Strickland.
Come on, I think you should have got that.
I should have got that. The only reason I despise Sean Strickland is that he says stuff like that and then he does pitter-patter jabs as he's moving away. So, that's my main beef with Sean Strickland. Right. Well, I wasn't expecting to end this on such a laughter-filled ending, but we did. Yes. Tom.
Oh God, Joe! I've got
you
one
one more.
Sorry, I got one more. All right,
go on. Give me one more.
I don't want to live in a country where you can't shoot someone who sexually abused your child. Hashtag free Cain. That is a now retired wrestler.
Now retired wrestler
who's quite active on Twitter.
Oh, Henry Cejudo?
It's not.
Oh, retired wrestler.
Yes.
Who's active on Twitter.
He was retired by someone who fought on this card.
Oh.
In the main event.
Tyron Woodley?
No, it was Funky Ben.
Oh, fuck. Can you imagine reading his Twitter and all the stuff between crypto and not wanting to wear his seatbelt, and then he drops that gem in there? Jesus Christ! Right, well, God Almighty, I haven't laughed like that in ages. Right, let's wrap this up for fuck's sake. We've gone over an hour. Tom, congratulations, you are the champ.
Get used to saying it, Joe. How many times is
that? 9 points out of 10. That is insane. I thought my 7 points this week was good, but 9 is unreal.
But then you picked Edson Barbossa against a wrestler, Joe. You deserve what you got.
We could have had a 9-all draw. That would have been insane. Very, very rare to have
elite level
predictions is correct. Yeah, I can't wait for us to completely fuck it on the next card though, which looks like a banging card. But we'll get to that later. Listeners, thank you for joining us. That was our breakdown of UFC 272, as well as Vigilante Justice, as well at the end. Tom, thank you for joining me on this episode.
It was a pleasure, Joe.
Yes, always a pleasure, never a chore. And listeners, for one last time, pull out and spiv all over my face. Thank you very much and good night.
Good night.